Kabir was always looking sideways. In school, he glanced at other students' notebooks, wondering why their handwriting looked better. During games, he measured his moves against others, faster, stronger, more confident. Even at home, he couldn't help but notice how his cousin always seemed to get more praise, more attention, more admiration. He tried harder. He practiced longer. But no matter what he did, someone else always seemed ahead. It didn't take long before joy faded from the things he used to love. Every success felt small compared to someone else's bigger win. Every effort felt incomplete. One day, after losing a debate competition, Kabir sat alone in the school courtyard. His voice had trembled. His points hadn't landed. His confidence had cracked. That's when the gardener, an old man named Bala, walked by. He saw the look on Kabir's face and asked, "Why so down, young man?" Kabir hesitated, then mumbled, "I'm just not as good as the others." Bala sat beside him quietly and said, "Come with me tomorrow morning. There's something I want to show you." Kabir didn't understand, but he nodded. The next morning, just after sunrise, Kabir met Bala behind the school building, near the edge of the garden. Bala pointed toward two trees standing a few meters apart. One was tall, straight, and strong, its branches already wide, its leaves thick and green. The other was much smaller, barely reaching Kabir's chest, its leaves still growing, its bark still thin. Bala asked, "Which one is better?" Kabir gave a half smile. "Well, the tall one looks stronger, more grown, so I guess that one." Bala nodded. "Most people say that. But what if I told you both were planted on the same day?" Kabir looked surprised. "Really?" "Yes," Bala replied. "But they are different trees, different roots, different rhythms. One grew fast, the other slow, but both are growing." He turned to Kabir. "You keep comparing yourself to people who were never meant to grow like you. And when you do that, you forget how far you've come." Kabir was quiet. "Some trees grow slow because they build deeper roots," Bala said. "And when the storm comes, they're the ones still standing." Kabir stared at the two trees again. He'd been trying to grow like someone else, in someone else's shape, on someone else's timeline. And in the process, he had forgotten his own. The following week, Kabir found himself thinking less about others and more about his own direction. He still noticed the tall tree when he passed the garden, but now he also looked at the smaller one, how it was standing straighter, how new leaves had started to form, how it looked steady. One afternoon during class, the teacher handed back the essay assignments. A classmate next to Kabir smiled proudly. She had scored higher again. Kabir glanced at her paper for a second, then turned to his own. It wasn't the best in class, but it was better than his last one, and that made him smile too. Later that day, Bala saw him walking past the garden and called him over. "You've been quiet lately," Bala said. Kabir nodded. I've been thinking. Good, Bala said. That means you're growing. Kabir hesitated, then asked, But what if I still feel behind? What if I never catch up? Bala picked up a watering can and began pouring water at the base of the smaller tree. Catch up to who? He said. Life is not a race. It's not even a straight road. You're not here to arrive before anyone. You're here to arrive as yourself. He looked at Kabir with calm eyes. Would you rush a flower to bloom faster? Would you be angry at it for not looking like the one next to it? Kabir shook his head slowly. Bala smiled. Then why do you do that to yourself? That evening, Kabir sat by his window with a pencil in hand, not to write homework, but to draw. He sketched 2 trees side by side, one tall, one small, both reaching upward, both rooted deep. He didn't worry about perfect lines or shading. He just let the image take form, slowly and patiently. And as he drew, he thought about his own path, how much time he had spent measuring his worth by others' results, how he had ignored his own quiet progress. For the first time in weeks, he felt light. The next day in class, the teacher asked for volunteers to present their essays. Kabir didn't look around. He didn't wait to see who would go first. He raised his hand. He walked to the front, held his paper, and read it. Not loudly, not with force, but with honesty. When he finished, there was no loud applause, no dramatic reaction, just a few nods, a few smiles, and that was enough. At lunch, a classmate came to him and said, I liked your essay. It felt real. Kabir thanked him quietly. He didn't feel above anyone. He didn't feel behind either. He felt grounded, like that smaller tree, still growing, still real. Days turned into weeks, and something subtle but powerful began to shift in Kabir. He no longer rushed to compare test scores. He stopped checking how many lines others had written in their essays. He didn't care how fast someone else solved a math problem. Instead, he focused on showing up, on doing his best, on being better than yesterday. And slowly, his confidence returned, not the loud kind, but the steady one that comes from knowing who you are. One afternoon, Bala called him over again. They stood together, once more, in front of the 2 trees. The taller one had grown even more, but so had the smaller one. It now had stronger branches, fuller leaves, and a quiet beauty that was impossible to ignore. Bala turned to Kabir and said, You see, this one didn't rush. It simply kept growing. Kabir nodded, and it didn't try to become the other tree. Bala smiled. Exactly. He placed a hand on Kabir's shoulder. You're not here to be anyone else. You're here to be you. Kabir didn't say anything. He just looked at the tree and took a deep breath. Something about it felt familiar now, like he was finally seeing himself. On the final day of the school term, students were asked to write a reflection, a short letter to themselves about what they had learned this year. Kabir sat quietly at his desk. The room was filled with the soft sound of pencils on paper. He didn't think about what others were writing. He didn't look around. He just wrote. "I used to think I was behind," he began. "I used to think being good meant being better than someone else. But now, I know the only person I need to grow past is the person I was yesterday." He smiled as he wrote the final line. "I'm not a tall tree. I'm not a short tree. I'm just a tree, and that's enough." Later that day, Bala handed Kabir a small plant in a clay pot. "No label," he said. "No name. Just let it grow." Kabir held the plant gently. He didn't ask what kind it was. He didn't need to. Some things don't need comparison. They just need time, and care, and patience. And so he walked home, quiet, steady, still growing.